But one thing that was tragic the other night, Sam, man, to switch gears, was junior middleweight boxing star at the time, Patrick Day. He suffered a 10-round knockout on Saturday night. He lost that fight. 4 days later, he succumbed to brain injuries at the age of 27 years old. I want to read a statement here from his promoter. He said, on behalf of Patrick's family, team, and closest to him, we are grateful for the prayers, expressions of support, and outpouring of love for Pat that have been so obvious since his injury. He said he was a son, a brother, a good friend to many. Pat's kindness, positivity, and generosity of spirit made a lasting impression with everyone he met. Once again, he, suffered some traumatic brain injuries. 4 days later, succumbed to that. Say, man, what do you think about this? And what does this say about boxing and other sports where you can get these type of brain injuries?
Boxing is a brutal sport. Boxing is a very popular sport. I love boxing. I'm not even going to lie. Yeah. But there's risks that are involved. The boxers know that going in, and it's very unfortunate. It happens. It doesn't happen as much as you would think, but we've seen it happen a couple times this year, which brings even more attention to it. In this situation where his brother was 27. Yeah. It's heartbreaking. He was just beginning his life. He was a very promising boxer. And the fact that his family will no longer see him, he'll no longer even be able to continue life. 4 days ago, he was just as healthy, just as strong, weighing in, just ready to go. It's frightening. My son does a lot of mixed martial arts. He started in taekwondo, then he went into boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu. He was talking about having aspirations into going into the UFC. And as a dad, how prideful that is to hear your son wanting to one day be a UFC champion, but then you go and you think of all the dangers that go behind it.
Yeah.
And if the first thing you think about when I see a 27-year-old Patrick Day, even though I'm not too much older than him, is me looking at my son in this position. And it's something that I would never imagine or never want to put on anybody. So condolences. I'm thinking about his father and his mother and his family right now. And boxing, man, it's a brutal sport.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that's not going to go away. It's always going to be here because I don't think they're going to outlaw boxing. And unlike football, it's not rules that can go into place and knock somebody upside the fucking head. So I don't see how many changes that can happen within boxing to resolve this situation. But it's just something that the boxers walk in knowing, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, and I mean, the people, what they try to pad as an excuse, all these guys make millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars, especially with the NFL. And I just think that at some point they're going to have to really look into, put profit down, because it's all about profit at the end of the day. Put that aside and start thinking about the lives of people and what's more important with all these sports, especially these contact sports like football, maybe soccer, maybe not, but definitely boxing and football and, UFC. And it's your choice, obviously, to get in the ring and do what you got to do. But when people start dying, people start getting CTE, people like that snap later on. I think it's, what are they going to wait to is affecting 60% of the people that go to the NFL, or at what point do you stop this or try to come up with some better safety equipment or something that's going to stop this, because it's going to become a bigger and bigger problem. You can't just keep sweeping stuff like this under the rug. You know what I mean?
I'm glad you brought that up because I'm reading a very dope article on Yahoo right now, and it's kind of giving answer to the questions we have. Now, I'm going to talk about a little bit about boxers who suffer knockout blows. They said, according to a 2008 study published by Neurology, boxers who suffer a knockout blow will likely experience widespread loss of brain tissue. There's more damage and it's more widespread than we had expected, said study researcher Brian Levine of the Rotman Institute at the University of Toronto. When you have a blow to the head, it causes a neurochemical reaction in the brain cells that lead to cell death, he told Reuters of findings. The more cells that die, the less tissue you have. Now, in response to the protocols of what boxing can do to possibly change these situations from happening, former light heavyweight world champion Andre Ward weighed in on the need for boxing to change protocol following Nasdaq and Satilian's death, and now obviously we have Bay's death. He suggested that boxing organizations look into the weigh-in process, which usually occurs the day before the fight. Ward says after making weight, many fighters try to pack on mass in hours leading up to the fight. This can cause them to become dehydrated, which leaves the brain less protected, according to Times. One of the biggest changes we can bring in the sport of boxing is the weigh-in process. He tweeted on July 25th, either go back to the same day weigh-ins or allow IVs to be administered in every state legally. Lack of fluid around the brain increases the risk of a brain bleed. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. That's almost like the NFL, outlawing helmet to helmet shots and things like that. You're still going to have them. Every play, helmets are still banging. You still taking hits to the head in boxing. You know what I mean? I think that, again, I'm not saying that it needs to be taken away.
You sound like you are, though.
No, but it's like at what point, so what are you waiting for? Like, it's already showing you that this is too brutal of a sport. Somebody died now. 1 should be enough. 2 should be enough. 3 should be enough. So that's a good point, what he's saying. But how the hell does that got to do? All right, you're giving your brain less protection. But shit, if something's hitting that shit, it's 1,000 pounds of pressure. I mean, I don't give a fuck about no water or nothing like that. Having more water and stuff like that in your body that's going to protect your brain. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you a question, okay? Because when is it going to come? All right, we're all entertained by sports, right? And I don't put entertainment over human life by any stretch of the imagination. But these people that are also entertaining the people watching are being able to provide for their families like never before. They're making tons of money, and there's something that they're walking into. I don't condone anything, anybody dying. I'm glad to watch the NFL take measures on the field to protect the players. I love how it's trickling down into the youth,
right?
Because what's going on in football that went on when we were playing is totally different than what's going on now. And I applaud it because it'll keep kids at the end of the day safer. But when does it come to a point where, or eventually we're going to hear so much backlash and the dangers of this and the danger of that, where we won't have a boxing or MMA or football? And what the fuck are we going to be watching on Sundays?
I mean, I don't think it's that serious. I mean, think about, you could get we can all live without UFC, boxing, football,
But you're taking away a lot of employment and a lot of people changing their lives as well, because
so what do you do about
random instances that are happening? And I'm not saying they're not justified, but the percentages of people dying and not dying are higher up with people keeping their lives, you know what I mean, as opposed to passing away.
So are we just trying to make measures to make it safer? I mean, because at the end of the day, you get to make a better helmet.
Right.
The player's getting bigger. He's getting faster.
Facts.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's just like, the human keeps evolving past any technology that you would think that they can make something, but it's just like it's just too fast, it's too hard. It's just the human body is just too much.
I don't know if we have answers. Is at the end of the day, I don't know if there's any real answer. I don't think that sports are going away.
There's been a lot of people that said the NFL might not exist in the next 20 years. There's been a lot of people that suggested that, man.
I thought I would be one of those people last year and the year before that and the year before that. But the measures that are being taken now, even in the younger, now that I'm watching it firsthand, it's just something about it that makes me go, okay, they're going to football and these sports like this. They're going to kind of make a resurgence in popularity, especially amongst the parents, given all of the heightened safety guidelines that they're putting in place. Boxing, in particular, to talk about Patrick Bay, I don't. There's not much.
Even with that though, we just talking about brain injuries,
right?
What about all the other injuries?
It's brutal, man.
You know what I mean?
I don't suggest it on anybody,
in the NFL or whatnot. And I love to play, so we ready to fight through all of that. Like, forget the CTE. Right. I'm that type of guy, but it's just like, I'm just, once you look at, if you watch and do a little bit of research on CTE and what it does, and then, like, let's say if you had a son or something, and you can imagine, like, damn, what if something happened to them and I put them out there and knowing, I'm seeing some of these, we on the field.
Yeah.
I'm seeing some of these, I'm like, damn, I'm not thinking these kids gonna get up with some of these kids at a low level. And I know, like, that they gotta be feeling, because I remember when I was playing, you feel them hits. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? All through every inch of your body, you gotta be tough. So that's all I'm saying about it. I mean, hopefully, it could get better. They can make better equipment and everything, but I just don't see it getting any better. You know what I mean? I think it's really, and even that is damaging. I think the NFL, they're talking about their product as being damaged, but it's powerful. NFL and boxing, it might not be going anywhere, but it could be threatened at some point if this doesn't slow down.
And I will say this, I do think that the NBA is kind of making a real hard run at being one of the most popular sports. You're seeing a lot of young kids latching on to a lot of the personalities in the NBA. We can see they face, they're kind of more personable than the NFL players, right, and baseball players, so to speak. So, and that's a safer sport, kind of. But I mean, you got to be a certain height and things like that. It's a little different restriction than playing ball, but there are other sports that kids are starting to latch on to and do different things, which is also a great thing. But
yeah,
endorse your kids or promote your kids, not even to play sports. If they want to do it for the camaraderie and the team and the toughness, great. But don't promote them to want to do anything professionally in athletics. Promote them to be entrepreneurs in different kind of fields. Be businessmen. Be a doctor. Be a lawyer. Try to find a different field and just open their brain up to different levels of achievement. Because if you just box them into only being an athlete, then you know what I mean, you're stunting growth.
Yeah, definitely, man. But to switch gears.